You came back. Good. Pull up a chair and try not to make a sound. This is the last whisper. In 1991, a sealed archive room beneath an abandoned military facility was opened for the first time in decades. Inside, investigators found hundreds of pages of reports, audio transcripts, and medical records. Most of the files had been burned. Some had entire sections cut out with knives. But one sentence appeared over and over again, written by different people on different dates in different handwriting. The sentence was always the same: do not let them sleep. Nobody knew who they were, and after reading the remaining documents, nobody wanted to find out. What follows is the reconstructed story of a classified Soviet experiment known only as Project Wakefulness. In the winter of 1953, a remote research station was operating deep inside the Siberian wilderness. Officially, the facility did not exist. It was absent from military maps. Supply convoys arrived without markings. Even the scientists working there knew only fragments of the project they had been assigned to. The operation carried a simple code name: Project Wakefulness. The original objective appeared harmless enough. Researchers wanted to understand what happened when the human brain was prevented from entering sleep for extended periods. The Soviet military believed that if soldiers could remain alert for weeks without rest, entire wars could be won before the enemy had time to react. At least, that was the public explanation within the facility. The truth was buried several layers deeper. The subjects selected for the experiment were not volunteers. They were prisoners, 6 men and 1 woman. Each had been transferred from separate labor camps. None of them knew where they were being taken. None were told why. When they arrived, they were placed inside a reinforced underground living complex designed to resemble normal housing. Beds, books, running water, food supplies, medical supervision. Everything appeared comfortable. The only rule was simple: no sleeping. To achieve this, researchers introduced a newly developed stimulant compound into the ventilation system. The gas was designed to suppress fatigue without causing obvious side effects. For the first 3 days, everything seemed successful. The subjects remained awake. They played cards, read books, shared stories, some even laughed. Researchers celebrated what looked like a breakthrough. By day 5, small changes appeared. Conversations became shorter. Subjects started checking clocks repeatedly. Several complained that time felt slower than normal. One man claimed an entire afternoon had lasted nearly 12 hours. Medical staff dismissed the concerns as stress. On day 7, paranoia emerged. The subjects began accusing one another of being informants. Arguments broke out over insignificant details: a misplaced spoon, a missing notebook, an unfamiliar sound in the ventilation ducts. Sleep deprivation was expected to cause psychological instability. Nothing unusual, at least not yet. On day 9, the first incident occurred. Security cameras recorded Subject 4 standing motionless in a hallway for nearly 6 hours. He did not speak. He did not move. He simply stared at a corner where 2 walls met. When a doctor entered and asked what he was looking at, the man replied, "They keep standing there." No one else saw anything. The report noted possible hallucinations. The cameras showed only an empty corner. The following morning, 3 additional subjects claimed they had seen figures standing in the same location. The descriptions were remarkably similar: tall, thin, featureless, watching silently. Researchers increased observation but continued the experiment. Day 11 brought something far stranger. The subjects stopped discussing the figures. Instead, they acted as though the figures had always been present. One prisoner was observed leaving food beside an empty chair before sitting down to eat. Another apologized repeatedly to an empty section of wall. When questioned, none believed their behavior was unusual. The doctors began experiencing problems of their own. Several reported vivid nightmares despite sleeping normally. One researcher resigned after claiming he heard voices whispering beneath his apartment floor every night. His resignation letter contained only 4 words: "They followed me home." The experiment continued. By day 13, every participant displayed severe psychological deterioration: memory loss, confusion, episodes of terror, periods of complete emotional detachment. Yet none of those symptoms worried the project director. One thing did: the figures. The subjects were no longer merely seeing them, they were interacting with them. Panic spread through the control room. Researchers immediately ordered security teams to enter the complex. The response team never completed the mission. Halfway down the access corridor, radio communications ceased. When contact was finally restored 22 minutes later, only one soldier responded. His voice was barely recognizable. He repeatedly stated the same sentence: "They are awake." The soldier was later found wandering outside in sub-zero temperatures. He had removed his own identification tags. He refused to explain what happened. Within 48 hours, he was transferred to a psychiatric institution. He never spoke again. Project leaders decided to terminate the experiment. The stimulant gas was discontinued. Fresh air was introduced into the complex. Researchers expected the subjects to collapse from exhaustion. Instead, they became violent. Several begged for the gas to be restored. Others screamed that sleeping would allow them to enter. Nobody understood what that meant. Medical staff attempted sedation. The results were catastrophic. The first subject to lose consciousness died within minutes. No physical cause could be identified. His heart simply stopped. The second subject awoke moments after sedation began. According to witnesses, he appeared terrified beyond description. He clawed at medical personnel while screaming, "Don't let them inside!" Minutes later, he also died. Autopsies revealed nothing unusual. Healthy organs, normal tissue, no explanation. By now, the facility was descending into chaos. Researchers argued constantly. Security personnel refused assignments. Several staff members disappeared. One scientist was discovered dead inside his office. The official report called it suicide. The final page of his notebook contained a single drawing: 7 shadow-like figures standing beside a bed. The remaining subjects deteriorated rapidly. Their physical health remained stable. Their minds did not. Every conversation returned to the same topic: the watchers, the figures, the things waiting beyond sleep. One prisoner finally explained what they believed was happening. According to his testimony, human consciousness functioned like a door. Sleep was the lock. The stimulant gas had forced that door open. Something had noticed. Something had entered. Researchers dismissed the statement as psychosis. Hours later, security footage captured something impossible. One camera briefly displayed 8 individuals inside a room containing only 7 subjects. The extra figure appeared for less than 2 seconds, tall, distorted, standing between them. When technicians reviewed the footage frame by frame, the figure was visible. No explanation was ever found. The recording vanished from archives years later. Only written descriptions remain. 3 days afterward, Project Wakefulness officially ended. Military authorities ordered immediate evacuation. The underground complex was sealed. Every surviving document classified. Every participant relocated. The remaining subjects were never seen again, at least officially. Decades later, investigators examining abandoned Soviet archives uncovered fragments of the original records. Most files had been destroyed. Many pages were missing. Yet several details appeared consistently across multiple reports. Staff members experienced recurring sleep disturbances for years afterward. Several died under unexplained circumstances. Others refused to sleep without lights on. One former researcher reportedly stayed awake for 6 consecutive days before suffering a fatal stroke. Friends claimed he spent his final hours repeating, "They wait behind closed eyes." The strangest discovery came from a medical file dated years after the experiment. A former technician who had worked at the facility underwent psychiatric evaluation. The doctor asked a routine question: "Did he still think about Project Wakefulness?" The technician answered, "Yes." The doctor asked why. The technician remained silent for several seconds before giving a final response. "Because every night, just before sleep, they still stand at the foot of the bed." The interview ended immediately. No further records exist. Whether Project Wakefulness actually happened remains unknown. Most historians dismiss it as an elaborate Cold War myth. Others believe fragments of a real operation inspired the story. But one unsettling fact remains. Across thousands of pages recovered from different archives, written by different people who never met each other, one warning appeared again and again. The same sentence, the same desperate instruction, the same message repeated for decades. Do not let them sleep. And if those reports were telling the truth, that warning was never meant for the subjects. It was meant for everyone else. Tonight, when the room goes dark and exhaustion finally wins, one question remains. If something has been waiting behind human dreams all this time, how would anyone know whether it has already crossed over?